Good evening. You're watching Left, Right and Centre. I'm Natasha Joe. Several parts of Maharashtra are grappling with the consequences of back-to-back drought. We are told up to 700 farmers have committed suicide from January this year alone. Yes, that is the extent of the agrarian crisis that is playing out in states like Maharashtra. But 15 lawmakers and officials from the Legislative Assembly have now flown to Australia and New Zealand for 2 weeks to review how these countries handle loans to farmers. Yes, you've heard that right. They're on what's been described as a study tour to figure out how countries like Australia and New Zealand are looking after farmer loans. And that's what we are looking at today, is just this insensitivity when it comes to the agrarian crisis in India. Let me introduce my panel to you. I'm joined by Shaina NC of the BJP, Priyanka Chaturvedi of the Congress, Nikhil De of the Mazdoor Kisan Sangathan with us, as is Dilip Cherian. Thanks all so much for taking our time to be with us on what is clearly a very important subject, and one I can tell you that NDTV.com is getting a lot of comments and viewer participation as well. Nikhil, let me just start by asking you, just to place this in context. I gave out some numbers there, more than 700 farmers committing suicide, most of them, of course, in Vidarbha and Marathwada. Then when you see this, that the cost of sending each lawmaker is 6 lakhs, half they will pay and half the state has decided to bear the brunt of it. What is the message that is going out? It's clearly on nobody's priority list.
Yeah, it's as much of a junket as it can be on a subject that makes no sense at all for someone to go to Australia and to New Zealand. If you want to study it, if anything, if they had some great laws, people should have come from there to here to talk about those laws, because the crisis is here. And the circumstances and situation is in Maharashtra, which has been happening year after year. Drought or no drought, drought makes things only worse. But for the farmers, for their incomes, for loans, for a question of credit, those are issues that we've been grappling with for so many years. And it passes, as you're saying, the message that it's passing is that, oh, things will continue as usual and lawmakers will go on a trip, which obviously if any of us were to track what that trip means, it has very little to do with our own realities and circumstances here. The fact that in 1994 they passed laws that were useful to them is very good for them. They passed it. We should be passing those laws here, and we can do it by looking on the internet, by thinking about what's been done, or maybe having one of them come here and talk about it. So
Shaina, I'd like to get you in at this point. You would agree, of course, that many are asking, why is this needed? The point that Nikhil is making is that the crisis is here. It's unfolding here. This is an age where you can get everything off the net, video conference, name it. I mean, there's so many other ways of doing it. Is this kind of spend taxpayers' money really important to go out there? And the timing of it, that is, of course, making many sit back and raise many questions. Wouldn't you agree, Shaina?
Firstly, please understand that there is no wastage of any taxpayers' money. This is a Commonwealth Parliamentary Committee that happens year after year, where there is representation from the legislature of all political parties. So there are members of Congress, NCP, Shiv Sena, BJP, all parties. And the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association invites these leaders. This has got nothing to do with the agrarian situation of farmer suicides. Please do not correlate the two. The state government realizes and knows its responsibility when it comes to the situation in Maharashtra, whether it's a Jalyuk Shivar, a pension plan, an insurance scheme, a Jan Dhan Yojana, a cash-rich crop, or solar pumps. We have provided the provisions made within the agricultural department, monitored by the Honorable Chief Minister of Maharashtra, as a stand that we have taken to combat this menace, because we believe that giving freebies, subsidies, SOPs is not the holistic solution. It is only when you empower the farmer and make sure that their lives are empowered that we will be able to ensure that there are no suicides. Now, unfortunately, what the section of the media seems to be doing is correlating the actual situation on ground, which is being dealt with, to a committee which has happened year on year, where the Commonwealth Parliamentary Committee decides who to invite to a country to learn parliamentary proceedings and legislative,
I see what you're saying. Let's talk about this 30,000 farm waiver that the farmers are demanding. We've seen the kind of protest. The agriculture minister is part of it. The state is going to bear half the brunt of this tour. So you would agree, Pranav, that people are, of course, going to join the dots. But I get you to respond to that. Yes, Priyanka, you wanted to make a point. And, of course, there are all political parties who are part of this, the point that China made. The Congress also, I think, has at least one lawmaker on this.
No, so a couple of things. Shaina has mentioned all the schemes that they have introduced. She's spoken about a lot of them. However, the challenges still exist. Over 3,000 farmer deaths were reported in 2016. By now, in the month of till the month of April, there has been a 15% rise. There was a report, yesterday, which suggested that 15% rise in farmer deaths have been noted, and over 700 deaths have already been recorded. Now, here's the challenge. We have been going on a Sangharsh Yatra requesting the government to consider waiving of the tax. I'm very surprised that Shaina says this is entitlement and not empowerment, because it's a very similar policy that they have followed in Uttar Pradesh, where farmer loans have been waived off. Secondly, my point here is when she talks about Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, let's not forget, they've also gone to Singapore, which has nothing to do with Commonwealth Parliamentary Association.
Right.
I have been part of one such delegation. No, please allow me to complete, Shaina. Please allow me to complete.
No, that
which
was
categorically states that the state government is funding half of it. So considering that and again, the challenges that farmers in Maharashtra face are very different from the challenges that perhaps Australian farmers or New Zealand farmers face. And if you want to adopt some best practices, you do not need to send an entire contingent of lawmakers there to understand how it works. Like someone else before me was suggesting, we can have a video conference, we can have their best practices adopted in the state. Nobody is stopping them by inviting these people here and ensuring that more than these 30-40 people who have chosen, there's a 300 odd panel which listens to something like this. So these excuses sound a bit silly, and also exposes that when it comes to really looking after the welfare of the farmers, the Bharatiya Janata Party, not just in Maharashtra, across the country, have failed. And let me just also bring another point here to your notice.
May I come in?
Yeah.
Farmers were protesting even yesterday outside
when they dumped the crop.
the Mantralaya.
Yes.
The tur dal was selling at less than 5,000, which is the minimum
Priyanka, I just have
support
to interrupt
price.
there. Let's get Shaina to quickly respond before I get Dilip.
This is the kind of desperation our farmers are facing.
Okay, Shaina, quickly.
I just want to say, Jalyug Shivar were 1,20,000 constructions to make sure that Maharashtra does not go through the process of drought, and what irrigation should have happened at the time of the Congress NCP rule, where they looted the state worth 70,000 crores, are sermonizing to us today. We wouldn't have been in this place in the first place. Irrespective, Devendra Fadnavis has come up with so many conclusive solutions to take care of a problem holistically, whether it's getting rid of the middleman, whether it's ensuring that farmers have cash-rich crops or solar pumps or pension schemes or insurance schemes. I'm not even going to go on into that. My fundamental point is you cannot correlate an invitation extended by a foreign country, which is a Commonwealth parliamentary meeting, which has happened year after year, and call it this so-called travel junket, and then mislead people and say that this is taxpayers' money when it is not. So
but it is, because half the expense of that is going to be taxpayers' money, isn't that so?
And we are not a government that believes in being. And 1 minute, how can the Congress and NCP even talk when their own MLAs
they are and I'm going to ask
delegation?
Priyanka that.
If they really wanted to leave the high moral ground, they shouldn't have sent them in the first place.
Okay, Dilip, I just want to get you in. You know, when you see this, and as someone who deals with the business of image and imaging, the optics on this is all wrong. Despite what China might say, it's not fair to correlate, and you know, I guess there are different parties there. Individuals could have also decided to opt out, but the optics is all wrong.
You know, well-intentioned as Fadnavis is, as Shaina is trying to say, there is no doubt that this could have been done far better. One, there's something wrong in terms of timing. Two, there's something wrong in the state having to bear any part of it, however small it may be, for a giant state like Maharashtra. And the third thing is that clearly, however good the intentions and however small the amount of money they may be, it is no doubt that there are better ways of doing this. You know, if they had to study how farmers' loans need to be handled, they could go to either Sri Lanka or Bangladesh, perhaps slightly less attractive as a tourist destination, but definitely more effective and more useful. The fact is that it doesn't matter, cutting across all political lines, when it comes to managing their flock and managing the general political atmosphere, chief ministers, however determined they may be to do good, and I'm sure that they are all working towards doing good, know that it's better to allow these freebies to continue because there is tradition built into it. As Shaina says, you know, it's a Commonwealth thing, it's been going on for years, everybody's going. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What's happening is that the people of the country are seeing, with or without media telling them, they can understand that politicians are still trying to get a freebie wherever it's possible, in whatever manner it is.
Okay. And of course, also the sense of entitlement, we believe that they have, that it's okay, whatever the timing is, but you know, we've been invited, we just absolutely
it would have been smarter to send a joint secretary to study it and come back and give a report.
Do we need 15? Nikhil, you wanted to make a point.
Yeah, I want to say that the fact that they have, it's something that they should have all sat back. It's across parties.
Absolutely.
And the fact that it's across parties makes it even worse, because it makes it clear that our legislators are actually still not able to grapple with what they are there for. Maharashtra was a state, and I want to look at Employment Guarantee Act a little bit, that provided to the country in 1975 a unique example of saying that we are in a crisis with repeated droughts, we all need to get together. They put 4 additional taxes in their own state, they didn't look anywhere else, and they provided a unique program to the entire world. That program is deteriorated in its home, in its birthplace. And today, if you look at last year's figures through the drought in Maharashtra in terms of making something work, there are 294 crores of pending liabilities from last year till today of NREGA. So if we are talking about efficiency and looking, and NREGA is all work in rural areas for improving farms, for improving people's income, for giving employment. Only 1 lakh out of 85 lakh people completed 100 days of work in that state, in its home birthplace. And Maharashtra still has an employment guarantee fund, a dedicated fund, which could be used actually for the entire farmers' crisis. The fact that we have suicides, the highest number of suicides in that state for the whole country, is something extremely worrying. That is something that again requires, like Maharashtra came together in 1974, to say we will look at ourselves. Where is one segment taking all the advantages, and where is all the burden coming on the farming community? Why are they committing suicide? Why are their loans? I agree that it's not simply a question of waiving loans, because again you will get back to that same situation. It's a question of dealing with the deep crisis in the agricultural sector, with their incomes, with their dealing with credit, with the very unequal situation the entire agricultural sector faces.